Well, we'll get started here, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Amanda Opitz. I'm the Communications Coordinator here at the YWCA, and I appreciate you showing up for today's YWCA Talks. Today, I have the honor of introducing our presenters, and today our presenters are Mary Stranahan and Susan Lake. And Mary is a retired general practice doctor from the Flathead Reservation. She's a vegetable farmer, and she's the unofficial CEO of Montana Water Stewards.
That's a mistake.
Oh,
That's my mistake.
Oh.
Susan is the president.
okay.
But you're still she's still that person.
We're
Yes. Yeah.
co-president.
Mary's super involved with Montana Water Stewards, which is a pro-Confederated Salish Kootenai Tribes Water Compact nonprofit. And Susan is also here with us today from Montana Water Stewards. She's the president of Montana Stewards, and she is longtime rancher, farmer up in the Flathead Reservation. They have over 1,000 acres that they ranch up there. So we're so happy to have you ladies here today, and thank you all for being here.
Thank
Please
you,
let me
Amanda.
join me in welcoming Mary and Susan.
So when Amanda asked us to talk about the compact, first of all, I'm here as a pro-compactor because I do not want to hire a lawyer to defend my junior water rights against the tribal senior water rights if the compact doesn't pass. Susan has a more compelling story.
I want water.
No, you're going to lose your family farm.
Yeah, if there's not a compact, I really think that it'll drastically change the way we farm on the reservation. Because we have already in place litigation in the 80s that set the stage for having more in-stream flows for fisheries and less water for irrigators. We also have endangered species. We're dealing with a bull trout, and at the last meeting that we went to this winter with the BIA, they informed us that they have a trust responsibility to the Endangered Species Act, and that they will be following up on the bull trout, and that we will have less water because there will be more in-stream flows for bull trout.
Don't get into the weeds yet.
Yes.
We want to present this with broad strokes. First of all, Susan is a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. And we are a perfect example of why this should not have a party context to it. In fact, the Democrats and Republicans of Lake County have met together to present the facts of the compact. And we think it's a model that should happen around the state. But anyway, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the history so that you can understand the compact. You need to know a little Indian history. You need to know a little American history, and you need to know a little legal history, and that because this is a complex document. So I'm going to use the word CSKT, which stands for Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes. I'm going to use that all the time because it's a lot easier. The CSKT Compact is an agreement between three sovereign governments: the sovereign government of the CSKT, the state of Montana, and the United States government. And the purpose of the compact is to quantify the amount of water, reserved water rights that the CSKT tribe holds. That's the whole purpose of the compact. And this was started by the state of Montana in 1979, saying, you know what, you need to know a little Western water law in that first in time, first in line is water law west of the Mississippi. And that means when you file on your water, if you're the first date to do that, you were going to get the water. And in a year of scarcity, you're going to get the water. And the guy who has a later priority date, he's out of luck. And that's Western water law. So you need to understand that. So reserved water rights are defined, because we're going to come back to this whole concept of reserved water rights, as the rights to enough water to fulfill the purpose of the reservation. And reserved water rights have two priority dates. And remember, that's when you file for your water right. So the first priority right is when the reservation was formed, or the second is time immemorial. Now, the Hellgate Treaty was signed in June 16th, 1855. There was not a non-native irrigator in Montana in 1855. So that's the most senior water right you can get. So in a time of scarcity, that water is going to flow to that entity, which happens to be the CSKT tribes. The Treaty of Hellgate was negotiated by Governor Stevens of Washington, and he started at the coast and he negotiated with native tribes all the way east to here, Salish Kootenai tribes. And what's interesting about a Stevens Treaty, it's the only treaty in Montana that has this language, so that's why it's different than every other tribe in Montana. It's the phrase, "the right of taking fish at all the usual and accustomed places in common with the citizens of the territory." This is prior to Montana being a state. And what that has been interpreted in Oregon and Washington is, if you have the right to take fish, then there must be water in that stream for you to take fish. So by definition, there's an interpretation of a certain amount of water needs to be guaranteed in that stream for those tribal members to get the fish. That has not been determined legally in Montana, but there's a lot of case law in Oregon and Washington that has said that, to the point where Montana lawyers have said, you know, that is such strong case law that we think that has to be adopted in Montana as well. And with that, all the usual and accustomed places, the CSKT tribe has interpreted that as river water that goes all the way out to Billings. And you need to know that. So Missoula, you think this is just a reservation problem or issue? It is not. It goes all the way out to Billings. It's half the state. And that's a key piece of what would happen if the compact failed. The other piece is there's something called the Winters decision of 1908. It's a Supreme Court case. And this is the foundational legal decision that defines Indian water law. And it says, and this goes back to this reserved water rights, Indian water rights were reserved to the Indians by the creation of their reservations. And then subsequent decisions that were based off of the Winters, that's why you need to know the legal history stuff, actually went on and defined that reserved water right could be interpreted as water to irrigate all the practically irrigable acreage on the reservation. So that's a lot of water. Now, I told you Montana decided in 1979 to compact, which is another word for negotiate, the quantifiable water rights of the CSKT tribe. We're the only state that decided not to litigate. The rest of the states have litigated. So we, I think, smartly have decided to negotiate. And up to this date, we have the Reserved Water Rights Compact Commission has negotiated out 17 different compacts, 6 with all the rest of the tribes in Montana, and 5 with federal agencies like the Forest Service, Department of Ag, et cetera, BLM, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of in a thumbnail sketch. That's kind of the legal American history and Indian law history that you need to know about the compact. Susan's going to talk about the meat of the compact. What is in the compact?
Well, I think I want to start out with the fact that in 1979 with the Compact Commission, what the Compact Commission was basically charged in doing, I think, with doing these reserved water rights, is protecting the junior water rights of the citizens of Montana. And what they had seen in other lawsuits is that the junior water users, people like irrigators like myself, were not making out very well. So they looked at that and said, you know what, there's got to be a better way to do this. So they chose to do the compacting. So what the state did in this 18th and final compact was protect the junior water users in the state of Montana, where the tribe could possibly make their claims. So the tribe could possibly make and will make claims. If there's no compact, they're required by law to claim, like all of us other water users, file their claims by June 30th of 2015.
Or lose it, or they will lose their water rights.
Right. So
they're just
they're like any farmer, they're like anybody else. That whatever you conceivably think could be your water right, you're going to make a filing on that. So that's what the tribe will do. So what they basically said is in our Aboriginal hunting and fishing grounds, we are going to file time immemorial in-stream flows for fisheries. So that could go clear to Billings and a little bit beyond. What we're particularly on the reservation and here in Missoula, there's more of a threat to the water users because on the reservation we lost a suit in the 1980s. And basically what that lawsuit said, the irrigation project was drying up streams on the reservation. So what they said to the irrigators is, okay guys, you're drying up our streams and we don't like that. And the irrigator said, no, we put it to beneficial use, and so we have a perfect right to that water before you have any water for fisheries. What the Supreme Court of the state of Montana and the Ninth Circuit Court upheld is that no, they have a right to every last drop of their time immemorial in-stream flows for fisheries before we get our first drop of irrigation water. So since the 80s, we've been working under an interim water agreement that basically the tribe has taken minimal flows for in-stream flows on a few streams on the reservation. They haven't gone to all streams. They basically waited for the negotiation process. But right now, what we were told that this winter is they will be working on higher in-stream flows because they've got the science, they've done their homework, and we'll be looking at more in-stream flows for fish. That means less irrigation, less water for irrigators.
Unless
we have a compact. On the Milltown, you guys probably, you understand that they took out the dam, and in the settlement, ARCO gave a 2,000 cubic feet per second irrigation right to the state. And the state, if the state has a right to perfect that claim or do the change of use, and they have basically said it has to be a non-consumptive use, so it's a fisheries use. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks wants that right. And they would like it at 2,000 cubic feet per second and beyond the confluences of the two rivers. So where the rivers come together, 2,000 cubic feet per second. So if the state doesn't want the fish and game in the agreement, the next person to be able to take that right would be the tribe. So the tribe is second in line for that right. The state, of course, is going to use it for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. They're going to make that claim. And in the compact, what they've done with the claim is not 2,000 cubic feet per second, 1,200 cubic feet per second. They're going to send 700 cubic feet up the Blackfoot. The Blackfoot is already dealing with that in something called a Murphy right. So it's like a 1971 right. And it's 700 cubic feet per second. So they've been doing drought management for quite a while with that Murphy right. So basically what it does though is it's not a 1921 right, it's a 1904 right. So there will be more people involved in drought management on the Blackfoot.
they get more water with the compact. They irrigate because they get that reduction going through.
Well, the
Milltown.
point is right now, no, right now they have more water. The basic, this right has not been exercised before. So the
okay.
1971 right dealt with people anybody prior to 1971 didn't have to deal with the Murphy right. So that was a state right. Now it's a 1904 right. There will be more irrigators involved because it's an earlier date. So more people will be involved in the process, in the drought management. And they have done a great job. They've used the Blackfoot Challenge has been an incredibly successful collaboration with farmers and the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to make it work. And so basically they'll have more farmers to work with. It'll be 500 cubic feet per second up the Clark Fork. So that will affect anybody who has a priority date after 1904. But they've also put in 10 years to do planning, drought mitigation planning, so that people can do a drought management plan. And the other thing is that when you look at the graphs, and if you go on to the DNRC website, you can see what time of year, which is sometime in August, where it drops below that 500 cubic feet per second. But they also have 5 days to look at that and say, wow, we're below that. So it's kind of like what the Blackfoot does is, okay, let's plan our irrigation around that. So if we irrigate less, the water comes up, and they can start all over again. When the water comes up for a couple days, the 5 days starts over again. So what my cousin in Deer Lodge says conceivably is, if we manage right, it will never impact us. Okay, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks has made it very clear that if there's no compact, they want more than the 1,200 cubic feet per second, and they don't have to talk about bifurcating it, which is 500 and 700. So what I look at the compact is, I think it's a gift to the people in the Clark Fork Blackfoot. I think that they are going to get a better deal than they will get with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And one of the arguments from that end of the valley is, well, hey, we'll just get that abandoned. They've never, the Belltown never used that water right. They never used that much water. But the DNRC says the records are very, very good. And it was a big in-house battle when the Fish and Wildlife and Parks wanted more money in the compact than they actually got. They wanted 600, the state wanted 400, and they settled at 500 cubic feet per second down the Clark Fork. So it was a huge negotiation. Now, when Fish, Wildlife, and Parks goes for that, there's not going to be that buffer or that communication, and they have a whole different process to go through. The DNRC doesn't have a negotiation piece. It'll be a water court piece, and they'll be applying for a change of use. So to me, I think that the compact actually benefits the people up the Blackfoot Clark Fork. It benefits those of us on the reservation because we've been guaranteed our historic water use, and not only have we been guaranteed our historic water use, they have a technical team put in place. And the reason that what our goal is with the compact is to increase in-stream flows for fisheries while maintaining irrigation water. So what they've done with the irrigation water is, what they've said is, we've got to make improvements to our project. Our project right now is about 40% efficient. It's in bad shape, and it's been basically not well cared for years. So money would come in to improve our irrigation project to improve it to the point where there's water for the tribal fisheries, and the tribe has not in this compact asked for optimum fisheries. They balanced it with the needs of irrigators. So basically, we will have our water for irrigation. They put a technical team in place that if the improvements are made and it doesn't meet the water irrigation needs, they'll make adjustments. There's also drought sharing. So if we get
scarcity.
It's scarcity. So that if we get a really dry year, then the optimum levels that the tribe would like in the reservoirs can be decreased. So, and then we have opportunity to take 20,000 acre feet more out of the river than we've ever taken in the past. And when we do that, it goes into one certain part of the valley, but it creates an opportunity for water not to come from the south to the north, where we get a lot of our irrigation water. Less water has to come from the south to the north when we push more out from the north from the pumps that come into our project. So I think that the state did a masterful job protecting junior water users. Some of the other water rights they have off reservation, which quite frankly has created most of the stink about this compact, is that they're co-ownerships, 14 are co-ownerships with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. No new priority date, and the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks continues to regulate and manage those water rights. The tribe, the only thing that the tribe has is a call right on that.
Do you know what a call is, everybody?
It means if the water gets too low, then they can shut off the junior water users. So, but basically, the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks already has that. So it's not something new. It's not a new right. Some of the other rights that they have are underneath the FERC requirement of Libby Dam, which means as long as Libby Dam is in place, the tribe has a time immemorial right to the water underneath the FERC requirement of Libby Dam. If the FERC requirement of Libby Dam goes down, the tribal water right goes down. If Libby Dam went away, there's 400 acres that would be impacted. I think there's 27, I think they said, water rights. But when you do a call, you also have to prove that if you call that water, that it indeed makes the correction that you want in the in-stream flows. You just can't call something just because the water levels are low. You can't just call it because you want to. You have to be able to prove that turning off my well water will actually create better habitat for the fish. So a call is not something that they can just make, just very carelessly.
Talk about the 90,000 square.
Well, yeah, the other beautiful part of this is that there's 90,000 acre feet and probably another 20,000 acre feet on the main stem of the flathead that is not appropriated water. And the attorney that we're working with in Bozeman said she worked on fish, endangered species in Washington and Oregon.
Can I just interrupt for a sec? So 90,000 acre feet of water will satisfy 600,000 people for a year of water use, just to give you an idea, just to give you a volume type of thing. That's a lot of water.
And it's not in play in Montana right now. The state, and basically what Hertha Lund, our attorney, has said is that other states are looking at hungry horse water for mitigating their issues, their endangered species issues.
Washington, specifically.
Yeah, Washington, Oregon, any place that our water could flow south, they'll look at that water. And we're looked at as a water-rich state, which is why in 1972, our state constitution says we need to quantify the water in the state of Montana for our people, because if we don't, other states are going to be demanding that we send water south. So what the compact does is it ties up that water for the state of Montana, only for use in the state of Montana. It's an economic benefit to the tribe, which quite frankly is an economic benefit to those of us who are here. It's also an economic benefit to the people who need mitigation water. And if you guys are familiar with the south, the southern end of the Clark Fork, it's already basically legally shut down because of the Avista water right. Because Avista already owns more water than exists.
Knoxon Dam.
They already have more water than exists in the river. So basically what Hungry Horse Water would do for people who want to do building in the southern end is it would provide mitigation water that they could lease from the tribe. Mm-hmm. And it stays in the state of Montana. And the in-stream flows are not something, people say, well, they can just sell their in-stream flows. In-stream flows for fisheries are not something that can be sold. The water in Hungry Horse can be leased. And like I say, right now, the state of Montana doesn't have that water. We don't have access to that water. And
which is amazing.
The state of Montana tried for 10 or 12 years to get that water. And the hurdles that they threw up, the DNRC person that worked on it said, we went through all their hoops. And they kept throwing another one in front of us. And then finally they said, well, now you can do an environmental impact study that could cost $3 to $4 million. And we still aren't guaranteeing that we will give the water up. So at that point in time, the state says, well, you know what? Maybe there's a better way. And the compact accomplished keeping water. And like I said, all the things put together, the state did a fabulous job protecting junior water users and enhancing water in the state of Montana. And I can't see, like I said, in a way, I think that there's a lot of gifts in the compact. And I know that there's a lot of people that have fears of the federal government. They have, one of the conspiracy theories I hear is it's going to depopulate western Montana. And then next it's going to depopulate eastern Montana. And then God help America because it's going to depopulate America. And literally that's in one of the emails that Catherine Vandemore has written. And that's exhausting because I'm looking at it and going, well, for one, maybe somebody ought to tell you that the economy kills Montana, we're already depopulated. That would be a nice FYI. But this creates opportunities in Montana. The improvement in the construction on our project creates jobs in Montana. Hungry Horse Water also does.
An example on this Hungry Horse. There's 11,000 acre feet that are designated for the Flathead Basin, which is where our major opposition is Whitefish and Kalispell. And that's 11,000 acre feet that nobody has right now that will be open for development for residential, for commercial, industrial, that there isn't any more water up in the Flathead. So all of a sudden, boom, 11,000 acre feet of water. So I really don't understand why the opposition is so strong up there, because it's one of the better gifts of the compact is up there. They get all this free water.
Well, it's not free. It's not free,
but
it's not free. And then the other thing that people have to understand is
available.
11,000 acre feet is available for any place in western Montana that it can access it, and it's at a set rate, which is also nice. It's $40 an acre feet, which for industrial municipal is apparently they've done their looking, and it's a good rate. For
California is about $600 per acre foot now, I believe, something like that.
Is that right? I don't know. I
Just
know
to give
that
you an
water's
example
expensive. One of the other things is nice is that if in severe drought our irrigation project needs more water, we have the opportunity to buy it for $8 an acre foot. Right now on the reservation we pay $25 for about 0.7 for 0.7 acre feet. So there's a lot of things in this compact that protect us, that protects Montana. And so, like I said, I think the compact is a gift to Montana. It certainly is protecting me on the reservation, because right now, if we don't have a compact, within the next couple of years, we will have less water. We raise potatoes. We don't put potatoes in the ground in the spring if we don't know we have season-ending water. And if you know how in-stream flows work, it's not like, oh gee, I have half of my quota for August. And it's, no, the water came up to here, the water's gonna be shut off, and you will not have any water for your potatoes. Like I said, it costs $2,000 to $3,000 to put in an acre of potatoes. We don't have that kind of risk. It will drastically change the way we make a living on the reservation. Alfalfa takes late season water. Every aspect of agriculture on the reservation will be impacted by this, as will relationships for the next 40 years. Because if anybody's been watching the Klamath, 2 years ago, they got their water shut off. They had the Klamath Restoration Agreement. They had an opportunity to negotiate. And like some of the people in our area, they were going to stand on principle, and they were going to fight, and the Indians didn't get the water, and it was not, that just wasn't going to happen. Well, it did happen. And I talked to a lady who, a couple of years ago, and her water was shut off in June. Her brother-in-law in the past had brought 3,000 head of cattle up from California to graze in the upper Klamath. That wasn't going to happen. So it devastates their economy. And so I've been communicating with a farmer over there, and as was our local reporter who called over and said, can I talk to somebody who doesn't support the Klamath Restoration Agreement? And they said, well, you know what? 2 years ago, you would have talked to a lot of people, but you'll be hard-pressed to find somebody today. They need that agreement to survive. We need this agreement to survive.
So I know you guys have read some letters to the editor in the Missoulian, which are difficult to read. And it's what we're being faced with up on the reservation, but you get a little dose of it down here with the letters to the editor on the hate against Native Americans, the hate against the federal government, the fact that the UN is going to take over. It's called Agenda 21. If you've never heard of Agenda 21, please Google it, because it is one of the major conspiracy theories that is used to go against the compact, okay? And it's a little cuckoo conspiracy.
So you're saying Agenda 21 doesn't exist?
No,
I'm
I'm not saying
Agenda
that,
21
ma'am.
Well,
is a non-binding treaty signed by 3
but
presidents.
it exists, right?
Yes, of
Agenda
course it does.
21
And it's about
exists.
sustainable growth and smart growth
That's right.
and conservation of resources.
That's right.
By our 1972 Montana State Constitution, the people of Montana own the water in Montana, and the streams and what falls and underground. Who owns the water on the reservation?
The state of Montana will continue that will not change. The state of Montana still owns the water for the use of their citizens. What the tribe will have are rights just like you and I do. One thing in the compact that will happen is that they won't file senior rights. In the compact, we have wells, and people have secretarial rights. Those will go through the state adjudication process just like everyone else in the state of Montana. The only water right that the tribe will have is the one on the irrigation. And the one on the irrigation gets us an 1855 priority date as opposed to 1904. The other thing that it does is that there are 3 claims on that irrigation water right. Right now, sitting in the state, there are 2. The BIA made one, our Flathead Joint Board of Control made one. The Flathead Joint Board of Control does not deliver or own any piece of the project. So.
Well, you've got your talking points down well, but I was watching the House, well, excuse me, I think it was in front of the,
Senate Judiciary.
yes, committee. And that hearing was one of the longer ones I've ever seen. It went 5 hours, and equal time was allotted to the proponents of the treaty and the opponents of the treaty. And I saw people from on and off the reservation, some for it, some against it. I saw some natives for it and some against it. And the people against it didn't even all have time to testify. So there is a huge, huge rift, obviously. One of the questions I have is, if you have a reserved water rights commission, does that take place at the Montana Water Court? Or is that in addition to it? And then the Water Rights Commission,
You
there's
wanna
nothing
take
in
that?
there that
You want me to
requires
take it?
those people to know anything about water rights. And I don't know if that's a good idea. Can you talk to that point?
Well, it was a good idea 18 times. 17, the 18th time hasn't gone through the deal. There are 17 other compacts that have been ratified in the state of Montana. I think they were good for Montana. I think that they protected the junior water users. The problem with having no compact is the tribe is going to file their rights. And on the reservation and on the Clark Fork Blackfoot, that is huge, immediate.
And the Bitterroot. They have the
Well, the
senior
Bitterroot,
water
but-
rights.
Wouldn't that say that non-whites then are prejudiced against the natives? I mean,
I'm confused about what you're saying.
well, it's almost like you're accusing the natives of wanting to file their water rights.
They've
No, we're not.
already said that our attorney asked them.
The
Yeah.
legislature said, let's deal with this compact. If we can't get it, the process is it goes through the state legislature, then through Congress, and then back to the tribe. That's how a compact works. It's how the 17 have. So we're at the very first step of getting it through the legislature.
The last 2 years ago was the first step. And there
Well,
was,
we're
my
continuing it.
understanding, there was an amendment called for time extension, but that was voted down. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
Yeah, because the
So now we're
legislature
against it.
said
Okay.
the tribes will have to file by June 30th, 2015.
But the legislature goofed when they didn't extend that, in my opinion.
Well, this is the
Because-
fourth time, this would be the fifth time they extended it, and I think that that's why they're done.
Well, I was gonna ask you a question, but I keep getting my train of thought interrupted. So,
Sorry. Keep trying here.
Maybe in the interest of time, just so that we can make sure that our presenters today are able to kind of get through the material that they want to, but
Yeah.
obviously there are a lot of questions in the room, so maybe you can continue on and then we can reserve some time at the end, and then we are welcome to keep this space after, but I just want to, in the interest of time, for those of us that need to get out of here at 1 o'clock.
Okay,
I'll make
I just, I was in the process of asking the question, which I probably won't ask now, but I would like to say that it would be nice to hear why so many people also oppose this, because it's a huge issue. And so by not extending the deadline, and then by telling our legislature that they're not welcome to make any amendments whatsoever, even though it does go to the feds and then comes back to the tribe, isn't that what our
Can I
legislature
take this
is
for a sec?
required to do, is come up with the best laws that they can, not just the best laws that are out there and available to choose from?
Well, remember I
So
said
I
this
think that's a problem.
this compact is a negotiated settlement between three sovereign groups: the tribes, the feds, the state. So those are the three negotiating
I
parties.
understand that.
It's not the legislature. The legislature gets to vote yes or no.
On any law, they're able to add or make amendments.
The
No.
Compact Commission was set up specifically for this. This Compact Commission was set up specifically, 17 other ones went to the legislature, they were voted up and down. I hear one of the other comments is, why would we spend $55 million of taxpayer dollars to settle this compact? How many of you know?
55 million? No, we're gonna look at 1.2 billion. And
No,
55
you are,
is
that's,
going to
no,
the reservation.
no, the state has nothing to do with the money beyond the 55 million. $55 million is the state's settlement.
Right.
Has anybody heard how much it costs to finish the Blackfoot? Have you even heard? You know how much the state paid to settle the compact? And it's still ongoing. Those dollars are still, until the compact is finished and through Congress, the Blackfeet will not have all their money. Does anybody know?
Do you know how-
$49 million. Nobody ever heard a word about it. I've heard about, we've got to have all this accountability on the money for the CSKT. $49 million for the Blackfoot, and I would bet that 99% of the people in the state of Montana have no idea.
Two
Every-
wrongs don't make a right, though.
It's not,
So
it's
that
not
was
wrong, it's
I
not
think the
wrong. They are
$55
protecting the
million
junior,
should be accountable
that,
for.
they are accounted for.
They
It's
are
counted on the
That was one of
Blackfoot.
the amendments that they
Yeah,
refused to.
they
do.
it's already
It's already
accounted
accounted
for.
for.
That is
They didn't need that
propaganda.
amended.
Yeah.
And what happens if it is amended? It has to go back to the feds, the tribes, and the state
We're
to
talking
be
about a water.
renegotiated.
We're talking about a water right now. It would be nice, you mentioned Dr. Vandermoor, it'd be nice if she could be on the opposite side.
Yeah, Dr.
The
Vandemore has
opponents.
talked
It's not
about,
just conspiracy and it's not racist. I haven't seen anything about racism in any of the letters.
Dr. Vandemore is very much works on Agenda 21. I've looked at Dr. Kate's view. I have looked at Dr. Kate's revolutionary radio. The conspiracies on the revolutionary radio, I can't begin, you guys can't even go home and think up some of the things that they think about. The Holocaust didn't happen. Sandy Hook
This is
massacre,
not-
hey,
I'm
just a
sorry,
minute, this
I
is
came
going to
in a little
credibility.
late.
No.
You're Susan Lake, aren't you?
I was when I walked in.
Thank you. Well, as I said, I came in late, and I'm sorry I didn't get your name.
Mary Stranahan.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've seen you at almost all of the water
Right, in
issues.
Granite County,
Yep, you were in Granite County.
where a bunch of
What is your
ladies
name?
came in. Elena
Elena
Gagliano.
Gagliano? Okay.
Right.
Okay, so before we get to any more questions,
We're probably in the weeds now, and I should stop.
let's talk about what would happen if the state does not pass the compact in 2015. And that is, the only alternative is that the tribes are forced to file for every water claim that they think they are entitled to. And don't forget, taking fish at the usual and accustomed places, all the way out to Billings. So that means we will go to court, and we will go to water court. And there are basins in the eastern part of Montana that are closed at this point. In other words, there isn't another drop of water to be found in that basin. It's all claimed. Who will have to reopen up because the tribe is going to have the senior water right in that basin because of their usual fishing and accustomed places. So it is going to disrupt the economy of Montana, the agriculture of Montana. It's going to disrupt the municipalities of this state because Missoula has water rights, Bozeman has water rights, Great Falls has water rights. All of this will be all disrupted because we're all going to have to go to court to defend our water rights against an entity that has either one of two priority dates. One, the time when the reservation was formed, which is 1855, or two, time immemorial. None of us have that senior water right. So we will all go to court. We're going to have to defend our water rights. We all have water rights. And we're going to be in a junior position. We're not going to be in a position of strength if we go to water court. And it's going to take about guesses. The tribes are saying they're going to file for about 10,000 water rights across the state, is what they are thinking is their usual and accustomed fishing access places. It's going to take about 20 years to solve all this court stuff. We don't have enough water lawyers in the state to accommodate the demand. Each person who needs to defend their water rights against the tribes will have to hire a lawyer and pay for it. Guess is about $5,000 a month. It's best guesstimate 20 years and $1.5 billion of legal fees to get this settled out in court as opposed to negotiated. Add on. It's going to put the Lakes Farm business out of business.
So if the purpose of water rights was to serve, or the water rights set up to serve the purpose of the reservation,
Mhm.
tell me, what is the purpose of the reservation? Was it set up so we could have a sovereign state within another
Yes.
within a country? Or was it set up so that we could assimilate the natives into the culture
Well, that's
eventually?
why you need to understand American history. At one time, it was to eliminate them by blood. Another
Well, we're
time
talking
was to
before the
starve them by
reservation.
getting rid of the bison.
I understand, I know all that.
Okay,
The purpose of the reservation at this date, the way it's defined, is a homeland. And a homeland basically is much more than, some reservations were set up basically for very agrarian, basically for fishing, or basically for farming. The Wind River in Wyoming is a good example of that.
Let's talk about
Well,
Montana.
but you're going to talk about, there's every purpose, every reservation is different. This one was a homeland. So for this reservation, they get past, present, and future uses. So they will tie up every drop of water. First, they will file senior claims on all the water in the reservation because they will do that. Whether we think it's right or whether we think it's wrong, they will do that. Then we will have to object to that. And then when we get done with this adjudication process, which has taken about 40 years in the Klamath, then we will get to the part where, will there be any more available water? And everybody's saying, oh, let's do a dual system. That worked on all the other reservations.
No, don't even go there.
Well, the other reservations don't have as much water as we do. So what we've come up with is a unitary management ordinance where tribal members and non-tribal members go through the new water system. They get new water. We go through the same way. It's not a separate process for us. The tribe doesn't do one thing and we do another thing. If we do not have a unitary management ordinance on the reservation, there will be no new water for non-tribal members. Quite frankly, there isn't on this, 4 of the other reservations are closed. There's no new water for non-tribal members. So we will be looking at the same scenario, no new water for non-tribal members. So basically we'll be set, we'll have less water because we've got other court cases in place. These are things that are really boots on the ground happening right now. Then for a homeland, they have future uses. I don't know, maybe one of their future uses is bottled water. Maybe one of their future uses is leasing water, I don't know.
The point is that the CSKT is a sovereign nation, and it negotiated with the federal government on a nation-to-nation basis. And that is treaty law, and that is in the U.S. Constitution, which is superior to the Montana Constitution.
I understand,
Okay.
but there are all 3 involved.
There's this thing that puzzles me again and again about people that oppose the compact, and that's that they want to litigate without the compact, when in fact, that forces me as a farmer on the reservation to litigate with them without a compact.
Yes.
When in fact, it doesn't eliminate their right to litigate with a compact.
Exactly.
So I am bound by their objections.
Exactly.
Which frankly pisses me off.
Yes.
You should be pissed off. So, and that's part of the new negotiated compact, is that if you would oppose the compact, if I'm an irrigator on the reservation or off the reservation, I have the right to go to water court and fight for my rights, no matter what. But I happen to be for the compact. I do not want to have to go fight for my water rights if the compact doesn't pass. It's the same piss off you have.
I can't
So
afford
I'm
it.
being thrown,
afford it
if
either.
the
I'm a small
compact
farmer.
doesn't pass, we're getting thrown under the bus by people who object to the compact.
I'm
When-
already paying for their lawyers.
You are,
Yes,
that's
you
right.
are.
Yes, you are, through our water irrigation fees. All right, I'll tell you what's happening on our Flathead, well, I'll tell you what's happening on our reservation right now. Our Flathead Joint Board of Control 2 years ago had people that were negotiating the compact. So we had a lot of misinformation that's going out still today. So we totally changed our Flathead Irrigation Board. Not totally, there's about 3 people that support the compact on the irrigation board right now, but there's 8 who don't. And basically they're elected and they have the right to do that. So going from like $185,000 a year to almost $500,000 a year in litigation fees.
Paid
That's
for,
what's happening.
thank you so much for your fees.
I-
And my
That's
fees
exactly
and-
right. We're paying for it, and there are a lot of us that have to wait till the next election cycle to get rid of these guys. That's just the tip of the iceberg as far as I can see on litigation. We are suing the Flathead Irrigation Board. For 2010, we had the irrigation project turned over to us as irrigators. And it became less expensive and a lot more, well, basically, when you have local control, you do a lot better job. So we had local control. This joint board has chosen to basically implode the CME, so now the BIA is running the project again. We have no local control. So what does the joint board do? They sue the BIA for taking the project back over when they refused to negotiate with the BIA. And the BIA said, let's keep this irrigator thing operated. We have some hiccups we've got to deal with. Let's go ahead and work it out. And since the joint board doesn't like the compact, they voted no to continuing our owner-operated irrigation project. Next year, we're looking at higher irrigation fees because the BIA's wages are about 1/3 higher than ours. And so that's what we're looking at. We're paying $265 for administrative fees, which is basically, to me, a slush fund for our joint board to sue people. So from $265, our cost per acre has gone to $5. So if we
Ours
end up,
went to $9 down in the Jocko.
yeah, because of lawsuits. So the kind of thing that is happening just in a micro way on our joint board, to me, is what it will look like in this state for the next 40 years without a compact. Plus the fact that my grandchildren and children are going to be growing up in a very divisive atmosphere. There's social issues, there's economic issues. I honestly don't know what we will do if the compact doesn't go through as farmers on the reservation. Because the tribe will do what they have to do, and what they will do is they'll increase their in-stream flows, and there will be no money to improve the project. There will be no lag time to improve the project. We will have less water in the next couple of years. Now, I see most of the people in opposition to this really don't have, they aren't looking in the face. I look at almost all the irrigators, almost all the irrigator groups in Ravalli County support the compact. Agriculture, with the exception of the Clark Fork and Blackfoot, have woke up and said, wow, this is going to impact us. In the Gallatin, they're worried because they just got done with their adjudication, and it's going to be starting all over again. The Gallatin is worried about it. So
Farmers are getting it.
So the frustration is that the misinformation that the tribe doesn't have any rights, because whether we feel they do or not, whether we think it doesn't make it so, so they will file those rights, those claims, because they have the right to do it. And who's going to line up? They have the right to do it. Who's going to line up with the tribe on fisheries? Who's going to line up? It'll be like they did, there was an issue down in the Ravalli County where Trout Unlimited came in on the side of the fisheries. Who's going to line up with farmers? Who's going to line up with me for my irrigation water? Who's going to line up with the tribes? And it's their right, but who's going to line up with them? I mean, I hate to think of the environmental organizations that are going to line up for fisheries as opposed to my farm, because that's the way our water court works. And so the amount of money that's going to be against me, when we have a deal that protects irrigation water, protects junior water users, and I realize that most of it
protects the fish.
It's a win-win. Yeah, it is. It protects the fisheries, and it protects agriculture, and it protects industry. We have 3,000 illegal wells on the reservation. In 1996, the Supreme Court said, you will issue no more water permits on the Flathead Indian Reservation until the adjudication is done or the negotiation is done. But people kept drilling wells, and the tribe allowed it to happen. 3,000 illegal wells.
And the state did.
Yeah.
It was both.
3,000 illegal wells on the Flathead Indian Reservation that will not have a legal right until the adjudication process is over. If you want to go buy a house, do you want to buy a house that at the end of the day, you might, if you do get water, you might have to buy it from the tribe, and you don't know that? If I want to sell my farm and I have less irrigation water, is my farm going to be worth anything? I'm guaranteed, I am guaranteed my historic water use. Everybody in the state, there's nobody in this state that's going to be impacted adversely by this compact. Nobody. And that is what I think is a pity, because it's Agenda 21, it's the UN taking over, it's unconstitutional. Well, guess what? If you think it's unconstitutional and it passes, then you get your wallet out and you go and you challenge that, because you have a right to challenge the constitutionality of the compact.
There will be a challenge.
And that's okay.
That's
They have
fine.
that. But I'll tell you
But
what,
don't throw the rest of us under the bus.
I'm saying that
I have no problem with the
people are
challenge.
afraid of lawsuits that are threatened by the tribes, but we also know that lawsuits are threatened by the other side, which is why it tells me that you guys, or not you guys, but everybody involved, there are for and against the compact. So it tells me that this is not an ideal compact and it needs more time. And
There's not enough time in the world that's going to satisfy the person who thinks it's Agenda 21. There's not enough time in the world.
I gotta tell you, I don't know all the conspiracy theories you're talking about, but I am familiar that there is an Agenda 21, and I have read a lot of the stuff. But I'm not even gonna bring that into the equation, because right now, we've got a constitution, a state constitution that says all the people own the water in Montana.
And we
all of a
still
sudden
will.
we go to the reservation, but it gives natives on the reservation an opportunity to lease their water rights for up to 99 years or 100 years, but
Only out of Hungry Horse.
non-natives,
Only out of Hungry
Well,
Horse. It's Hungry Horse water that the state doesn't have
do you know
now.
how many dams are on on the river between Hungry Horse and Bonneville?
Does it, the
You know, like
90,000 acre
17,
feet,
that's a lot of
the
energy
90,000
generated.
acre feet is available for people in the state of Montana. We don't have that right now. The tribe has an opportunity to lease that. Sure, it's an economic benefit, but it's a water that we don't have, and with this compact, downriver states may have it. So to me, it's kind of a,
That's a gift.
to me, the 90,000 acre feet, we don't have it. It's a gift. It's a gift. If it insults you that they can lease it, I guess I'm frustrated because I don't understand why we wouldn't be thankful, especially like the Thompson Falls Lumber Mill wanted to increase their capacity, and they couldn't because Avista owned the water right. If they had, if they could lease water from there.
Up there too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've heard that, I've heard some murmurings that the tribe is giving too much away in the compact. Can you speak to that?
When we were over at the the Compact Commission, when they moved it to the state, the guy from Fort Peck said, I think you guys are giving up too much water. I think you're giving up too much.
There are some tribal people on the res who are angry at the stance the tribe has taken on, because the tribe has given up a lot. The tribe doesn't get their stream flow until the efficiencies of the Flathead irrigation project are proved up. And then that extra water, because of extra efficiency, then goes to the stream.
No, they think that
The
they
tribe has
would,
given
yeah.
up a lot, and there are some people who are pissed off at it. You're absolutely right.
There's a number of, it's a hot button issue on the reservation as well with tribal members. There are some tribal members that are very angry because they really feel like that the tribe would do better going to court. I know they have one of the best probably attorneys. Of course, the tribe has been fighting for 100 years, and quite frankly, they're good at it. They're good at it. And if I have to go up for my water right on my well, we have deep water wells, and we also get water off the project. If I have to go up against the tribe, I'm a corporation, so I have to hire an attorney. I'm going to go up against the full weight of the federal government and the tribe. And I'm looking at it and going, but the compact promises that I have a legal right to irrigation water, that I have a state-based water right on my wells and on my domestic wells. And I'm saying, so if there's no compact, basically we all go to court. And that seems to suit some people. They seem to be kind of excited about that. But you know what? I'm not. Because if the compact passes, you can still challenge the constitutionality of it. But it doesn't, the state of Montana still owns the water. And the Attorney General's looked at it, numerous attorneys have looked at it. And quite frankly, the Compact Commission all the way along was looking at whether things were constitutional or not. So we can throw that out there, and people have a perfect right to challenge it. My thinking is the people who don't think it's constitutional would love to kill it beforehand, because I don't think that they really believe that they'll be able to prove that it's not constitutional in court.
Has anybody quantified the water? I mean, there was.
The water's
studies
quantified.
It is quantified.
Actually
Yeah,
quantified.
Yes.
it's quantified.
Yes, by
It's in the
abstracts.
appendices of the compact.
Yes.
So just one more quick question. So let's say the compact fails and the litigation begins. Can we reintroduce the compact at the next legislative session? This is like the last.
This is it.
You know what? The tribe is angry.
Yeah.
They've been insulted for a long time, and not just kind of insulted. I've sat in those meetings where it is absolutely insane, the things that people get up and say. They have a good legal staff. They have the backing of the whole federal government. They basically have said, we're done. And you can say extend it, but nobody's going to ever be satisfied with the tribe getting off-reservation rights. The tribe said, hey, we'll be happy to settle with on-reservation. We'll still file our off-reservation. The federal government, the state says, no, we need to be done. We need to be done. So this isn't, and there's take it or leave it. We have been at it for 20-some years. We've been at it since
negotiations have been going on.
2001. If you go back through the Missoula archives and see how long this reservation has been going on. And one of the stopping points on it was when the tribe said, we will own the water. And the state said, no, you won't own the water. Negotiations broke down for many, many years. They came back to the table. The state owns the water for the benefit of its citizens. The tribe has a right to use the water. And that to them, they think is a big give, because they think that they should own the
Question over
water.
here too.
Well, as you said, the water is owned by the people of the state of Montana for their beneficial use. The water course and the DNRC have been set up statutorily to determine what the beneficial use is for all of the water users in the state of Montana. Why should the Indians, the tribe, be any different? They haven't gone in and quantified their beneficial use, and so they haven't complied with the law.
The
So-
compact, in the abstracts, defines their water right.
Well, the
They
compact should be
haven't done it.
between the
He's right.
federal government
That's
and
the
and the
propaganda.
tribes. It shouldn't, the state of Montana shouldn't be involved in it. If the tribes have a complaint, why don't you go to the federal government? They're the ones that you made the treaty with. The state of Montana, here again, the law says that you define your quantify your beneficial use, and the tribes haven't done that.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. One thing in Indian law is that the tribe has not had to define, they don't lose their water for non-use. They have a right
It's
to
treaty
water for,
right.
a treaty right for future uses. If there is no compact, the tribe will get more water than they're
Go
asking
to-
for now.
Go to the water court and define the quantitative.
They've already
beneficial use.
quantified it. They've already quantified it,
It
and it's
hasn't been-
quantified it to the
It
benefit of the
hasn't
state
been
of Montana.
presented to the water court at all.
Well, the water court doesn't see it until it comes
The
back.
negotiation is to avoid the water
That's
court.
all one-sided.
Okay,
Okay, well, obviously this has been a really lively discussion. We really appreciate that. It is 1 o'clock, and so we're going to release those that do need to take off for the day. Maybe if our presenters are
Do we have to?
interested, we can continue to have a discussion at this point, but we will finish up for the official part of YWCA Talks today, and thank our presenters so much for coming today. We do have couple upcoming YWCA Talks. In April, we'll be having Janet Finn from the School of Social Work at the University of Montana coming with some of her students to talk about social justice issues on the U.S.-Mexican border. They recently took a trip down there and did some research, and so they'll be presenting on that. And then in May, and that'll be April 24th at noon, from noon to 1 here at the Y. And then in May, we'll be having a screening of a film about missing and murdered Indigenous women. So stay tuned for that. If you do want to be kept in the loop about upcoming YWCA Talks, we have a sign-up sheet on the back as well as some brochures and stuff if you're interested in more information. But thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
thank you.